Hello everyone, welcome back to an episode of my Minecraft Let's Play. As always, this is Martin. Today we're at the build site again. Work has begun. As you can see, I've filled in a lot of the ground here. Dug out some of the soil and replaced it with water, so that if we do fall off this huge construction, we may survive. I'm not sure how effective 2 blocks of water is the higher up you go though, so that might be inefficient later on. But we'll see. So I've started off by copying this ring which we built last week and raising it up a level. That's just a boundary. It's of no significance really. And that is all the way up to the top of the map. Oops. So that is level 256 up there, or level 250 possibly. Can't quite see it because of the clouds, but it should work quite well with the clouds. The clouds should sort of cut off or obscure some of the view, so it looks like it blends into the sky better. And yes, as you can see, I've started construction. Done a test piece over here. I'm not sure how it's going to look, so I'll probably carry on with that right now. I've got some scaffolding as well, which I used leaf blocks from. Here we go. Alright, so as you can see in my inventory here, I've got a vast array of the different types of materials, all of them grayscale tone, and I think this should look relatively nice. I've had a few problems with the planning of this because I realised, after the initial concept which I had of this structure, which I plotted out on a Flat Worlds version in Creative. I didn't build the whole thing, I just built the base of it. It's basically what you see here, I've built in Creative. But I realised that the Flat Worlds on Creative go from level 4 upwards to level 256, whereas here we're starting off at around 65, 66 and then going upwards, so that's a quarter of the distance less to work with. So I've had to shrink the design down slightly so it doesn't look ridiculous, because the idea is when you look at it from a distance, there's a few large rings, and then the rest of it is lots of small rings. Now, if I went with the original scale, my original planned scale on here, it would be almost large rings about halfway up, and then small rings the rest of the way. And from an angle, say over there, the large rings would actually obscure the smaller ones, so you would actually only see large rings. So I've decided to shrink it down, well not shrink it down, compact the space between the rings by about a third. So there should be more rings, but in a tighter space, which should be alright. What else have I done? Oh yes. Well, first of all, I'd apologise for last week's episode not going up. I was away on holiday with my friends, and I got back on Saturday evening with no footage prepared and was completely exhausted from the flight, so unfortunately I didn't get around to setting anything for last week, but I aim to get perhaps another midweek episode out this week, possibly next week, sort of in recompense for that. Been also, as a result of that, on the flight home, managed to catch a cold, which I'm not surprised, seeing as we're all exhausted, and you know you're more likely to catch a cold when you're tired. So, been fighting that off. So if my voice is a bit scratchy for whatever reason, I think that's it. using the stone quite rapidly. I hadn't realised how much we actually need. That's 2 stacks for half the circumference of the large ring. Also started off ideas with different base, because we had to shrink the scale of the rings down, the distance between them. I thought it necessary I'd also shrink the rings themselves down. So originally, this ring, the large rings would be 5 thick, and the small rings would be 3 thick. Now, however, the large rings will be 1, 2, 4 thick, and the small rings should be 2 thick. This ring isn't actually part of the ring array, it's actually just the base of it, so it's a bit larger based on the drawings I'm working off, so it can be made larger. Also, that's why I'm using dark grey wool on that section over there, because according to the image I'm using, the colour toning is slightly different. I will be very impressed if anyone can work out what I'm building. Actually, if you put a comment in the description, if you put a comment with the link to a drawing, and it's the right drawing, then I shall be mentioning you in the next episode. How's that sound? If you can guess what I'm building right now, you'll get a feature next week. However, I highly doubt anyone nailing it just from this little section of structure. Right, so this is taking a fairly long time. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to carry on. I'll tell you what, I'll finish off this layer, and then I'll show you starting work on the next of these larger rings. Okay, back in a second. Alright, so there we go, that's the first of the base of the ring done. So now we're going to get started on the second large ring, and for that we're going to need to go up a bit. Is that the centre? Yes. Let's see. That one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Hang on a second, let me just check my notes. 10, 11. And that is, let me just change block type. That is the centre of the second ring. Which means now, go down a bit, add in the light wool. Back up, a lot more light wool on top, and then half slabs. Now these half slabs are specifically to stop mob spawning. They're also quite useful as they provide a clear indicator on the circle below how far I need to go out. Whereas if it was just wool, like down there, it's difficult to distinguish between blocks. That could be on the right hand side of the cursor there, that could be 3 or it could be 2. It's quite difficult to tell. So, okay, right, it's only 11. Half health, right. And now set up another row of scaffolding for this ring. Bit further. That'll do fine. the reason I'm going overhead with these rows of scaffolding, oh, that's perfect. The reason I'm going overhead with all these scaffolding is so if I do fall from up there, there's less chance of me hitting a random branch of scaffolding. If it's all in one line, it's less likely to hit. Okay, so we need to place, and lucky me, I can't do it. Hang on, just drop down a block. There we go. And so it begins. This is probably the longest bit of the whole process, mapping out the next ring based on the one below, which, as I said, is why having the half slabs is an advantage. Okay, there it is. That's the outline of the main ring done. Now, this is a very long and repetitive process, but it's just going to be a matter of layering up each of these rings with the sandwich which I've got shown here. So wool at the bottom, stone, more wool, and then half slabs to prevent mob spawning. If I get the chance to, I think I'm going to put half slab on the undersides of these. That way it will look more symmetrical. But I won't if it means I have to make an entire ring of scaffold for it. We'll see, depending on how things go. Anyway, I shall crack on with that, and I'll show you what the end result is. Okay, there we go. So that's the first of the large main rings done, and now all we need to do is repeat that process several times. As you can see, I've started one just over there, and this ring shall be duplicated, I think, about 7 or 8 times, and then there'll be another ring similar to this one on top to cap it off, at which point the large rings will stop. And I've started laying out the templates for the smaller rings, which I think will start off now, but they shall carry on when the large ones stop, so there's no need for starters or cappers. You know, the first or last ring doesn't need to be any different than any of the others. Okay, so this should be slightly easier because it's closer to the ground. It's also smaller. Let me just get the block types ready so I don't need to change midway through. Okay, so we need to go to the end. There we go. That's right, is it? Yes. And then it's this one I prefer because it's a lot of small, whereas over there you had 3 or 4 or 5 lengths. Here it's only in 2s or 1s, which is quite nice. It's much easier to work from up here, and here it's just a nice little zigzag. Also, over on that ring there, I also managed to get half slabs on the underside of the large ring. I had said I probably wouldn't do it if that required another layer of scaffolding. However, it was only half a block out of arm's reach, which meant I had to jump every time. So instead I just ran leaf blocks over the top of these half slabs. It was much quicker than I thought it would be, and so I probably just do that for all the other ones. Here, however, if that's the top of this ring, I can quite easily, click to place the half slabs on the underside of the small rings, which makes the whole thing much quicker. The good thing about leaves, though, is you can recycle them by just using shears and get the item back, and it's very quick. I was thinking about burning them off, and even though there is a layer of stone between each of the wool, I think it would probably be best not to risk that just in case. Because if we did lose a layer of wool, we'd have to uncap the top stone, replace the wool, and then recap the top. And that would just take so long. And a lot of tools. At the moment I'm not using many tools because it's all just placing blocks which I've already gathered. If I had to go through a process like that, or maybe modifying the design or changing a large aspect, it would probably use a lot of tools. I know removing the ring of leaf blocks which I used as temporary scaffold, that used almost half a set of shears. When I started this thing, I thought it would be less huge. Coming from over there where the sheep farm is, and seeing this whole thing laid out here, it's a pretty impressive size. I hadn't realised how large it could get, and I've just realised this is going to cause a problem later on. Where these rings are going up, it's probably going to interfere with these crossbeam scaffolds, so we'll have to be careful of that. I guess when it comes to it, we'll just have to do a workaround. Also, I mentioned earlier about another midweek creations episode. I think I know what to do. It's essentially it's an arena which I've been working on the same server as I was on last time. I'm not sure if the owner would like the ID made public, so I'll have to ask him before I start recording that, but I think I know what I'm going to do, and that's probably going to be about a 10-15 minute episode, just going over how the different features of it work. Maybe if I log in when there's a few other people on, maybe get some demonstration done. Because when I was working on it yesterday, there was 2 people fighting in there, and they both had diamond armor, but it was very heavily enchanted, and this battle lasted a good 3, maybe 4 minutes. Both of them pretty much constantly on fire. I have no idea how they survived that. No potions either, which was impressive. The tipping point in that one was, however, that one of the players, actually their armor got completely destroyed, so they ended up just having to fight with no armor, and they got finished quite quickly after that. How close are we to doing? Oh, almost done. That went quite well. So now that we've got this bit done, as always this is the slowest part of the whole process, but now we can wrap it around with the half slabs. As I said, I want this ring to be 2 blocks tall. Well, that's 1 wool block and then a half slab on each side. And I said this one would be 4, just 3 plus 2 half slabs. And I think the ratio should work quite well, given that we've had to shrink the whole model down from its original size of however many blocks it was in the outer ring, I forget now. Also, the reason I've done this in gravel is so that once the project is completed, or rather when I need to build the item in that slot, in that position, I can just break the gravel block, put a torch underneath it, and the entire tower and all the ladders attached will come falling down. Much quicker way of gathering up all the blocks Also, it means you won't get any flint from the gravel. It will come down as the blocks you originally placed. During the work here, however, while I was finishing off this ring, it became night time, and I just carried on working because I was pretty much out of danger being this high up, and I was too close to the other side of the ring for it to generate mob spawning. However, the village down below there, I forgot about, and it got decimated. I've just been down there to visit, and most of the houses have no doors, and I think there's 3 villagers left. We lost the priest, and the alchemist, and the blacksmith for that matter. So what I've done is I've just locked up 2 of them in the church tower there. They're cased in, and it's well lit in there, so hopefully nothing will spawn in there and murder them. And then when I finish this project, I think after I finish this project, my next project will be relocating that village and then re-establishing it somewhere else. I have had ideas with placing it underground, but I realised that in order for the villagers to populate an area, one of the requirements is that the houses they're in need to have sunlight on the roof, or on any of the roof blocks, which I could do sort of artificially by just boring a hole down from the surface and placing glass over it so it creates a passageway of light, but that's sort of cheating. So I think what I'm going to do a village, rebuild the village in the desert, or in a nice clear biome, and then place the double door, the airlock, which I showcased in my midweek creations episode. I think I'll build that and see how it looks. Also, sorry about that, little technical glitch. I'm not sure what happened, but it just ended recording. I'm not sure if I did press end record. I think I must have tapped the wrong button accidentally. But there we go, that's that done. But as I was saying, not next week, but the following week will be our first episode in 1.3. Now 1.3, they're introducing several new features, one of which is the desert village, as well as the desert pyramids. There's the jungle temple thing, and what else is there? Various other blocks, including wood blocks, but individual to the colour of the wood they originated from. For example, at the moment, whatever tree you get, if you make stairs or half slabs out of it, they'll just turn them into the oak coloured half slabs. But as of 1.3, that will change, and then we'll have half slabs unique to each variety of tree. So that's the reason I haven't been exploring the desert on the far side of where our base is, because if I explore that too much, it might generate. I know it's probably already loaded it just from me being in the area, but there's a possibility that if I venture further out into that, as when 1.3 comes out, it will generate one of those biomes, and it will have a new item in our Let's Play. So exploration probably start the week after next. So it won't be always me building this thing for the next however many weeks. I will try and mix it up a bit. Zombie just spawned down there. Another thing I noticed when I was testing the base ring of this in creative, was that all the mobs would gather under the rings because it actually blocks out the lights. It doesn't cast a shadow, it just creates a direct darkness underneath it. So you see, without those torches and in daylight, that ring would be in darkness, as would that one, and this one wouldn't be because there's nothing above it, but that section there would be. So by creating one ring directly above another, it created a whole load of shadows, hence the reason for the half slabs. There we go, as a prime example of what I meant by running into the scaffolding. Alright, so that's the first of the inner rings done, completed. I haven't yet put the underside plates on the bottom of this one, because at the moment there's nothing to stand on, so I'll do that later. With the method of merging this into the ground, however, you can just about see the sheep farm over there. The idea is that I'll remove the water once this is all done, because that's just a safety net really, and I'll build a sort of facility, circular but pyramidal. I have no idea if that's the right word, but hey-oh. So basically it will slope upwards and join into the bottom of this bottom ring, and then I'll need to add on straps which follow up the edge of the large rings, and then ties which also follow up the small rings. I'm not sure I'm going to do that yet. I'll leave that until I finish all the rings. So what I'm going to do now is probably just a fast forward of construction in general, because I know block by block is not very interesting, but I thought if I fast forward it, it shouldn't be as uninteresting. So here goes. Okay, there we go, so that is the work so far on the rings. It's looking quite impressive. That's just a tower of markers, so that's where each of those little rings will go. so they each need to be completed and fully formed. The large rings, as you can see, are much larger by comparison from this angle, so I'm probably going to only go them up to them. Probably only going to make them go up to cloud level. But I think that's enough for this week. I think we're pushing on the 30-minute mark. The sun is just setting, so I think I'm going to end the episode here. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.